everyone, and welcome to Tabor Talk. I'm your host, Michael Tabor. This one's upstairs, excuse me. I'm not doing, probably not too many more outside. Here's my cat, Shiloh. He's 6 months old. I love this guy. We got him from a shelter. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about my guy, Shiloh. I want to talk about Richard Dawkins, the podcast yesterday on Joe Rogan. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. Joe's been talking about it. And I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. It was just over an hour. And I got to tell you about Joe Rogan. It really is one of the best interviewers out there. He is so friendly. He asks really good questions, the things that you really want to ask, and then perhaps he approaches things orthogonally, if you will. Like he's my cat is playing around. He's a stand-up comedian, and comedians look at life from an odd perspective, and that comes out. He kind of had some funny stuff like the Jesus water into wine. He's like, what's the deal with water into wine? What do you want to get people drunk? A little humor there. So anyway, Richard Dawkins is a big hero of mine, really nice guy. I don't agree with him though. I am not an atheist. I understand the argument, obviously. It's very strong and perhaps even stronger than the theist position, but you know my story. If you follow me and you see my videos, 5 years ago I had an accident. I died in the hospital. I had an NDE, a near-death experience, and 5 years later I'm still trying to process this. So I'm open to all this stuff. I'm leaning more because of my experience and the stuff that I'm reading and researching. It seems to me the default is that I'm not going to say like God, like Jesus, and that's a guy with a beard or some sort of God. The way I see it is, I'm not even sure if it's a God, but there's something more than meets the eye, if you will, if that's the expression. Like there seems to be another level, perhaps. For many years I just thought, I was an agnostic atheist for decades, and I just thought, it's all a natural selection, and it's, let's face it. What is evolution? It's non-random selection with random genes, and it's so obvious what happens, So, and actually Richard Dawkins talked about that pepper moth, I think it's in England, where you could see evolution taking place in observable time. That took about a couple, evolution takes millions of years. The moth turned, well, the story is, I'll explain it here. This type of moth is a pepper moth, something like that. I'm not sure what the exact name of the moth, but was actually initially like this light, like white. And after during the Industrial Revolution, with the smog and the smoke, there was smog all over it's to hang on the birch trees, the trees there, the white trees there, and which would help with camouflage. But after the Industrial Revolution, the trees would get all dark, and the birds would just pick off the white ones very easily. So after a couple of 100 years, the moths that survived were, well, from a mutation. That's what a mutation is. A black moth, that's a mutation. They were not picked off, and obviously they survived to mate, and there you go. There it is in a nutshell. Evolution is really not complicated. People are like, how do you get human beings from, what do you mean? Like at the eyeball, look how complicated. It's like, as Richard Dawkins explained, it's a very, very simple concept, explanation. But we get confused. Oh, he's biting me. We get confused because of infinite complexity, but that's what happens. That's the moth and this and that. But anyway, so I sort of digress. I was saying that I believe in something. I consider myself a universalist. I'm open. I'm even open to the AI religion, if you will, right? Simulation theory. We might be in somebody's simulation. I'm open to all of this stuff. And here's a good thing. Another argument is, my cat is really driving me crazy here. Another argument is the like consciousness. Like a lot of theists or anyone, like people, New Agers, like what is consciousness? I mean, you can't dismiss it. No one really understands it completely, and that is true, and that's a fact. And even Richard Dawkins says, I'm playing, my cat is distracting me. I mean, I am very interested in consciousness myself, but I know one thing for sure, Joe. It comes from brains, has something to do with brains, and brains decay. It's as simple as that. I mean, there you go. Brains die, and brains affect consciousness. If the brain is damaged, we all... what's the famous case from the 19th century? The railroad guy, Phineas Gage, is it? The spike went right through his eye, and before the accident, he was like this really kind of mild-mannered, very conscientious guy, and then after the accident, he became an alcoholic. He cheated on his wife. He was a completely different human being, in other words. All right, so we just know this, and that's a good point. I mean, no brain, no consciousness, right? I mean, you can't deny that. Like, I mean, I guess what would be impressive if you could somehow produce consciousness without a brain, then you got something. But so I do understand it, and then there's so many different religions. That's another argument what Dawkins was talking about. Like, how many, there've been thousands of gods, and you're an atheist except for if you're a Christian, you're atheistic to all the other faiths, the thousands of other faiths. Like, no Allah, no Hinduism, no nothing but this one. So you got a shot, 1 in 1,000 shot of being right there. It's very good points. And then the infighting. It's like, okay, there's one God, but then you have Christianity. How many hundreds of denominations, right? You have Protestantism and Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox, and then the Protestantism. There's all these different subsets and divisions, and it's all like, isn't there supposed to be one God? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, even just in Christianity, there's all these different divisions and denominations. It's just a human thing. Human beings fall into tribes, right? And it seems what Richard Dawkins pointed out, this is another human thing, is that the closer you are, the more antagonism there is. So you see, like, let's just take Christianity, different sects of Protestantism, there's like this deep hate. Or even like with me, I was raised a Catholic. I know a guy who's Eastern Orthodox, and there's this going on big time. I mean, talk to a Catholic and a Protestant. It's more. So Dawkins says there's more animosity or more antagonism and more this than someone who's completely different faith, like totally different, like Hinduism or Buddhism, right? That's very interesting, and that's in all areas of life, right? There seems the fighting, the infighting. Like, take a look at urban cities. Like, it's usually, you talk about crime, like black on black crime, whatever. It seems to be there's more this between inside infighting than, very good point. So I enjoyed the podcast. I love it. Go check it out. It's only an hour long. Richard Dawkins is a gentleman and a scholar in every sense of the word, and he's so good-natured. He seems, he could be sort of aggressive, but in some debates, but he really is a nice guy. In fact, Joe was talking about like Richard, do you think when you die that's it? And he goes, well, yeah, and he goes, and I sort of take some comfort. Like, who wants to live forever, even if it is heaven? Blah blah blah. And Joe says, have you ever tried LSD? Have you ever tried hallucinogenics, mushrooms, mescaline, whatever? Joe's big on that. And he goes, no, I haven't. And Joe says, well, why not? And he goes, well, I've heard about the bad trips. And he goes, at my age, I don't know if I want to. But he was open to it. And Joe said, well, I'm telling you, it changed my life. And he goes, all right, okay, interesting. You know what I mean? Really open-minded scientist. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. This is upstairs. I'm not feeling well today either. So, my illness here, my chronic neuro thing, but I don't want to complain about that. Okay, good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. Peace, love, and understanding here on Tabor Talk.